What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So here in my hand I have the subject of today's video. This is the X1 Smart Remote from Sofabaton. Now they sent this to me because they heard I was having some challenges as well as a few complaints about having too many remotes laying around the house for the different hardware that I have. Now if you're like me, you probably have a television with a number of different pieces of hardware and accessories connected to it. I'm talking about things like a speaker system, maybe a receiver, game systems, and just a number of different other devices that all have their own remotes. Now I know for myself, I know what every single remote does and belongs to. However, I'm pretty sure that all of us have family members or even friends who may not be able to figure out our intricate collections of remotes. And at times, it may even be inconvenient having so many remotes. Well, this X1 Smart Remote is supposed to solve all that, and at the same time, it looks pretty sleek. So stay tuned and we'll unbox this thing and check it out. Okay, so looking at the box for this X1 Smart Remote, it looks like it's got a pretty simplistic and minimalist design. In addition to that, it looks like it's also got a smart hub that comes with it that you can connect the remote and all your devices to. And I'm going to assume that the smart hub itself helps to connect and control every single piece of device that you connect to it through the remote itself. Now really quickly, according to the specs on the side of this box, this remote is compatible with over 500,000 plus devices, which is amazing and probably covers the gambit of all devices that you could potentially possibly ever own to date. It also looks like you can customize the controls as well as control your devices through a mobile app once everything is set up. Now I also assume by looking at the specs, this device also works with Bluetooth and infrared devices, so that's also a very nice feature to have. Now in addition to that, it also says that you have up to 60 days of working time before you need to recharge. Now based on just that information, I am super excited to replace my existing remotes with this one because that means you also don't have to replace batteries, but instead need to recharge the remote through a USB cable. So eliminating needing to replacing batteries is definitely a plus in my book. And before I go ahead and unbox this, it looks like it takes about 3 hours to fully charge this remote, which lends to the 2-month lifespan before needing to recharge the remote itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what's in the box. Okay, so the box is pretty hefty and made of some thick cardboard. In the box you get a pretty hefty instruction manual, so definitely seems like there's a lot of features for it. Then you get the remote itself. It's got that new remote smell, which does have one of those rubbery powdered grip feels to it, and I'm hoping that this is the material that doesn't just go bad over a few months. It doesn't feel like it, but it's got this nice powdery grip to it. So that's pretty nice. And it does have some weight to it, so that's also pretty nice. Okay, so we'll just pull off the screen protector itself. So it looks like there's a little roller ball, and I guess as soon as you touch it, it already activates. So what I didn't expect was that there is an LCD on this, which is pretty nice actually. So you can roll this ball through the different options that you have. And then I'm not sure if this is a touch tactile button right here, but you can press it as well. But yeah, we'll get more to the features a little bit later, but so far I'm pretty impressed. It's got a nice weight, it's got a nice feel, and it's definitely got a nice look to it. Looks like you've got the basic settings for the X1 Smart Remote. So you've got set up the new hub, add devices in the app, and create a new activity. So you can automate a lot of things as well, and program groups of actions, I guess. Okay, you get a USB-C to USB-A cable, 2 of those actually, so 2 USB-C to USB-A. I assume one is for the hub and then one is to charge the remote. You get your infrared extender, range extender, so this is the infrared detector. Actually you get 2 of them, so I'm not sure if they're both for the hub or if they're one's for the remote and one's for the hub, but we'll find out in a little bit. You also get a USB-A power adapter, which is also nice because a lot of devices these days don't come with the adapter itself. And then I'm assuming this is the hub. So let's go ahead and take that out. Okay, so the hub feels a little lighter and a little more hollow. So not as hefty as the control itself, but I guess what really matters is the remote. The hub is just there to connect all your devices. Okay, so it's got this jet black look to it. So this jet piano black look to it, which is pretty nice. Although I'm nervous about fingerprints, which, I mean, I don't see any fingerprints, which is nice. Okay, so that's pretty much what comes in the box. Let's go ahead and walk through setting this up and see how well it works. Okay, so before we go ahead and connect and set everything up, the first thing we should do, I guess, is to download the app. So let's go ahead and go to Photo, scan the barcode, takes us to the App Store, and they have barcodes for both the App Store and Google Play Store. So we'll download the Sofabaton app, then we'll open it up. Now it does say to plug the hub in first, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and register and create an account on Sofabaton first. So no account, let's go ahead and register. Register. Okay, so we'll go ahead and register. Okay, so we should get a code in our email. Okay, once you are registered, it gives you the option to select your device. So I'm going to assume we need to plug in the hub now. So let's go ahead and plug that in. Okay, so we'll go ahead and plug this in, and from what I'm seeing on the hub itself, it looks like it's got 2 ports for both of the infrared cables. So it allows you to extend the range of your infrared pretty far if you're going in 2 different locations with 2 different ports. But we'll go ahead and plug this in for now so we can get this all set up. Okay, so the hub is now plugged in. Okay, so I am going to select the X1 because that's what we have. Okay, so we're going to set up a new, okay, so it is powered on because there is this blue light on it. So we have plugged it in, so I'm going to click Next. It says press and hold the button on the X hub for 3 seconds to allow for the Bluetooth to connect. So there's a small button back here, so 3, and the blue light does start blinking. Okay, then you click the blue indicator of the hub is blinking, so we click Next, click OK to scan Bluetooth. Okay, it sees the Sofabaton X1, so we'll select that, and we got to connect it to our Wi-Fi. So it doesn't look like it supports 5G, so we'll just set it up with our existing Wi-Fi. Okay, and then it's going to do its thing and try to connect to the Wi-Fi and verify the credentials. So we'll let it do that. Okay, once that's done, click Done. Click Allow. Okay, X1 Hub. We'll just call this the X1 Hub by default. And then, of course, we're going to run the software update. And then we'll let it do that. And then once that's in, actually it's pretty quick, so let's see. Okay, so now that the update is completed, it'll close the app, and then I guess you have to restart it. Okay, so it says in order to add devices, you do either need to do a quick search and add the devices manually, or you use the infrared and probably point your other remotes towards the infrared to connect and detect all the other devices. So we'll go through this and set up a few devices and then see how well it works. Okay, so in the app itself, I did set up a few devices in the theater room because that's specifically where I'm going to put this hub. So I did just click the plus sign in the app, and then I added the Samsung TV through just identifying the model number and inputting that, which automatically added the functionality for the remote itself. In addition to that, I also added my Sonos Arc SL, which I connected through the app itself and using the Wi-Fi selection. So there are 3 different ways that you can set up devices in the app itself. Either through infrared, which is simply just taking your other remote and scanning it through the top of the hub itself so that I can pick up the settings from the remote. Or you can do it by Bluetooth, which is any device that's connected to your Wi-Fi. You just click Bluetooth and it will automatically detect the devices that you can add to the app, which then you just add, and then automatically you'll be able to control it once it's in the app. And then there's the Wi-Fi setting, which in this case is specific for Roku, Philips Hue, and Sonos. So if you have anything connected through Wi-Fi, then that's how you would add those devices. So for this particular app, I used it to connect to my Sonos speakers, which are in my theater room. So now that that's been completed, I can now control my Sonos speakers through the app as well. For Bluetooth, basically any device that has Bluetooth functionality, you can use that to connect it to that device as well and connect those devices to the app. So I didn't do that because I think the only devices that I have in the theater room, I don't have the Apple TV because I use the app itself. I think my Nintendo Switch and the Xbox I can add through Bluetooth, so I'll probably do that at a later time. But now, with that in mind, because it is connected to the app, I can just click on Samsung and automatically start controlling my Samsung TV in the theater room with the app itself. Now, because this hub is in my studio, if I press power off and power on or do any of the controls, it's actually going to control my Samsung computer monitors because this hub actually serves as an infrared blaster. So what it will do is send out infrared signals to whatever devices you specify or are controlling or have selected, and will automatically control that. So because this hub's in my studio right now, the infrared signals that it's going to send out is going to mess with my TVs. So if I press power off, it turns off my Samsung TV, which is acting as my monitor right now. So very durable, and you can pretty much carry it wherever you want. If, for example, if you have Samsung TV set up in the hub itself, you can just take this hub, move it to a room with a Samsung TV, and then you can automatically control it with both the remote and the app itself. So that's an interesting feature because I guess all Samsung TVs pretty much run on the same signal, infrared signal. But for the Sonos Arc, if I was to go ahead and select that in the app and press power on, it would turn on my Sonos Arc speakers through its Wi-Fi connection, and I could control it that way as well. Now, the next thing that you want to make sure you do is once you add your devices, you're going to want to go on the remote itself and make sure you go to Set and Sync, which will then sync both the settings and the devices that you added with the remote from the hub. So it's important that anytime you add a new device, you make sure you sync the remote with the hub itself. That way, for example, if I go into the theater room, I can then just control any of the Wi-Fi devices and even the infrared devices and Bluetooth devices with the remote and not necessarily with the app. Okay, so the next thing you want to do, and this is optional of course, but I find it helpful, is setting up activities. So to do that, all you do is click on the activities button or link or whatever it is on the app itself. Click plus to add, and then you'll have a list of all the devices you have added to the hub itself. So in this case, I want to create an activity for, let's say, movie watching. So what I'm going to do is select all the devices that are unique to watching movies. So turning on the TV, turning on the speakers. Those are the 2 things primarily that I have added right now that are required for me to enjoy a movie. So I will add both of those devices to this activity. Click Next. Make sure the devices are correct. Click Next. And then on this next screen, you can choose what happens when you select that activity. So once you select that activity, you want all the devices that are associated with movie watching to turn on. So we'll click that. And then it'll ask you to configure the buttons on the remote itself, whether it's on the app or the remote, for specifically what you want the actions to do for those buttons. Select the device you want the X1 remote volume buttons to control. So because my Sonos Arc feed off the TV, I want the Samsung TV to control the volume for both for the speakers themselves. So I'll click next for that. And then everything else, all those other buttons, everything pretty much is controlled through the TV itself. So I'm just going to have the other buttons associated with the television. And I'm going to call this activity movie time. And then we'll select an icon, which I'm going to select this thing that looks like a movie screen, and then click complete. Now, once that's done, the remote's near, so it automatically starts syncing with the hub and collecting whatever settings and whatever hardware I've added, and it'll sync it to the remote. Okay, so in the remote, I'm going to go to activities, and you'll see the new activity I set up, which is movie time. So what I'm going to do is press on the navigation ball, and that'll automatically activate, and my TV's just turned on. And I think I heard my Sonos speaker turned on as well. So that'll automatically activate both devices, so I'm ready for movie time basically. Again, that's the activity portion. Now if I want to go back to devices themselves, I can just go click back, go to the individual devices, and let's say I want to control just the Samsung TV. I can just press the button on select the Samsung TV and press the roller ball, so it highlights it green, and that means I'm in control of the TVs right now. And if I press the off button, it automatically turns off the TV and my speakers remain on. So you can control each individual. Now if I want to control the Sonos speakers, I choose the Sonos speakers and highlight them green by pressing the ball button, and then I can turn those off by pressing the off button and then using these controls to control the other features. So specifically for the Sonos Arc, I think the features, they have the play, pause, next, previous, mute, unmute. You can adjust the volume adjust the volume to 10, 30, 50, 80, or just manually move the volume up and down individually. So there's those options for that. With Samsung, it's a little different. You have power, power off, and power on, which are the only two buttons that I've programmed so far. So really, all in all, it's a pretty much all-in-one system, which you can pretty much control every device. Now, if you go to the devices themselves, you'll see from a infrared perspective, you can either click Learn, which will then select the device and you use your original remote to learn the commands, or you go to searching and then you can specify your specific hardware, model number, and add those devices manually. So it has pretty much a ton of different devices. It has every model for all the different brands that you can select from. So basically you can pretty much add any device to this hub and remote that you want and then control it from there. Now what I do want to make sure that I emphasize is that this hub for any infrared devices should be in the same room as those devices that are connected that you want to control. Because if not, it won't work for those infrared devices. Like I can't control my movie theater TV because the hub is in here, because the infrared signal is being blasted within this room itself, and because of all these walls, won't reach that TV. So make sure you place the hub in the room that you want to control the devices. Now the other option is you buy additional hubs and you put them in all the different rooms, which then will allow you to pretty much control any infrared device or pretty much any device in your entire house using the remote and the app itself from anywhere you're standing. So that's an interesting feature as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue playing with this and set this up because there are several things in my theater room that I need to set up, including the gaming systems and maybe the receiver as well. But if you are interested in purchasing this X1 Smart Remote kit for yourself, I will leave a link to it in the description section below. Now overall, I'll admit that I am very impressed with this X1 Smart Universal Remote and Smart Hub from Sofabaton. Now I do admit it is a little bit pricey, coming in at about $190, but you do get a lot of functionality and a lot of features for that price. In addition to that, the build quality of this remote control is top notch, and I love the fact that it has an LCD screen that displays the different functions and what you're controlling. I also appreciate the fact that the controller and the hub itself can control Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and infrared devices. In some cases, remotely from different rooms, so that is definitely a nice feature as well. Now currently, if you decide to buy this, it also comes with an instant 10% coupon when you use my link below. But if it's still too expensive for your taste, then there is also a cheaper infrared only version at about $1/4 of the cost, which I'll also review in a separate video. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you can, please support this channel by smashing that like button and subscribing. And if you do end up picking up one of these controllers or already have one, please let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until next time, see ya.